Hey guys, in today's video I have a get ready with me. I just finished and I'm gonna do a voiceover for the rest of the video because my kids are home. They're gonna be home for a month and a half and they're on vacation right now. So there's, you know, a little bit of noise and stuff like that. So I thought I would do a voiceover and that way it's not too distracting. But today is the first official day where it's kind of a little bit colder. It's in the low 50s. I'm so excited and it's raining. So it made me want to celebrate with color. And I haven't played with a colorful eye look in a very, very long time. And I love the way that this turned out. I think this would be great for holiday parties that are coming up. Really fun. Maybe not so much for Thanksgiving, I don't know, maybe if you're into it, but maybe for Christmas or New Year's. New Year's is coming up as well, so quite a bit of celebrations basically is the whole point. Whew. Okay, long ass intro, so let's just get into the video. I'm starting off with a lip balm, and today I'm using the SARA HAPP the Lip Slip Balm, which is a little bit moisturizing and it's a little bit on the sticky side as well. And then I moved on to the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer. I tried checking online and it seems that they've changed the packaging, and the one that I found online, it's for blurring, I believe, and smoothing. Mine doesn't say any of that, or that I can remember, but this primer works really well with foundations that are more moisturizing or luminizing. It does help control the oils and last my foundation longer. I then moved on to the eyeshadow primer, which is the Wet n Wild Fergie primer I've mentioned before. It's not my favorite. I have to go very lightly with it, otherwise it dries out my eyelids. And for foundation today, I'm using the Fresh Wear from Loreal in the shade Honey, and I mixed in the Shimmering Skin Perfector in Opal from Becca, which is their liquid highlighter. And I've mentioned before, I love mixing in liquid highlighters to foundations, and it gives me that glow from within, which I really do like. And it doesn't feel like I look any extra oily throughout the day. But if you want a more controlled application, which I tend to do sometimes as well, is put on the foundation and then add the highlighter just to the areas that I want. For the concealer, I'm using the Maybelline Fit Me in Caramel, and I'm adding that to the darkest parts of my under eye or around the eye area, and then added the Superstay concealer. Because this one is lighter, I added it more to the outer parts of the face. I don't feel like the Superstay adds an immense amount of coverage, so the way that I've been using this concealer mainly, and because it is the lightest concealer that I currently have, I've been using it mainly to highlight the areas that I want highlighted on my face, which usually is, you know, between the brows, the chin area, maybe the nose, the bridge of the nose, and under the eye area, more the sides of the nose and stuff like that. To bronze up a little bit, I'm using the Maybelline Fit Me. This is a Shine Free Stick foundation. I really like this guy. I have tried this and blended it out with a brush, with a beauty blender, but my favorite way of blending it out without disturbing any layers under is with my fingers, and I feel like it blends out really nicely. It's a very creamy foundation. I do enjoy it, but just to make sure there's no harsh lines, I do use the Real Technique sponge, and I use the butt of the sponge where I still had a little bit of residual foundation, just to blur the lines. I'm also adding it more towards the hollows of the cheeks, just to bronze out and deepen it out a little bit. And I do curve it as I come down. I curve it down to the structure of my bone. And once again, I'm using the Real Technique sponge just to blend out the outer edges, so there are no harsh lines. For bronzer, I'm using the Guerlain Terracotta Bronzer in 07. This particular one, I can't find it on Sephora, but when I went into Nordstrom, they had it on the counter, so that's where I was able to find it, or you can find it on the Guerlain website. The color is beautiful for me, and it's perfect for my skin tone, and it blends out really nicely. And although I added it to a non-powdered area, you can see that it blends out beautifully. It's a very soft bronzer, and it's amazing. For blush, I'm using the Too Faced blush in Your Love is King. This is in my year-long project, as is the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer and the Wet n Wild Primer. So I'm working on finishing these guys out. The Smashbox Primer I love, and I would totally buy again. Same thing with this blush. This blush is actually really beautiful, and I've used it as an eyeshadow. and a little bit of powder under the eyes. I'm using the MAC Prep and Prime, another product that is in my year-long project, so I am continuously using it. I find that with this powder, less is more. If I add a little bit too much, like a translucent powder from Laura Mercier, maybe I would go a little bit heavier sometimes with that one. I can't do that with this powder because I feel like I get oily a little bit more throughout the day. Okay, the Juvias Place Masquerade. I'm starting off with Zobo, which is the first. It's like the deeper kind of purpley shadow. It's a matte shadow, and I'm starting off on the outer part of the eye. This shadow stains like crazy. I think I'm gonna insert some pictures in here because my whole eye was stained that night when I removed it, and even the following day I still had a little bit of staining. It took almost 2-3 washes for it to go away, but it does build up nicely and it blends out very well. I did find, and you will see later on though, that when it comes to merging it with the shimmer shadows, it doesn't really merge in very well. I then went into Dahlia, which is more of a sapphire blue. It's coming off a little bit more like a lighter blue on camera, but it's a little bit more of a sapphire blue, and added it to the lid and all the way up into the crease. My crease is not very obvious, so I have to look up a little bit to kind of find my crease, and I try to make sure to open my eyes and just to make sure that you know, it's up as high as I want it to. The lighter shade, which I forget, I think it's Zola, I added it wet, and I added that to the center of the lid to add a little bit of a spotlight. Not a huge difference in color, but it does add that little extra sparkle, and I thought the shimmer shadows in this palette are really, really beautiful. Chi is the one that I added on the outer edge, and right now you're gonna see that I didn't bring it all the way out, but I do end up adding it a little bit later because that purpley shadow wasn't blending very well. I think if Zobo would have been a little bit deeper, it would have merged in better with the shimmer shadows. Then I went into Bori and added it above the crease to blend it into Zobo. It does have a little bit of shimmer in it, but it's not very obvious on the eyes. Actually, it kind of looked matte for me. So I used it to blend out the dark purple shadow and also just to kind of create a gradient. I did add a little bit of Zobo into the crease to merge the pink shadow and the shimmer shadow right in the crease, just to deepen it up a little bit. And then I used the pink shadow as a more of a transition to blend out the deep purple, and I just kept going back and forth between the two colors. Voodoo is the eyeliner that I'm using. This is in my year-long project. I've been trying to finish it out, and mainly I've been using it as a lip liner. It's not my favorite as an eyeliner because I feel like it doesn't last in my waterline. I then went with Chi and applied it to the lower lash, and then Zola into the inner corner and then the inner part of the lower lash. It's a little bit darker than what I wanted, so I will go in with a lighter color. I then went with Zobo once again just to blend out Chi, and then Mali, which is a little bit of a lighter blue, kind of like a minty blue, and it's still a little bit darker than I wanted, so I went in with Gisa to brighten it up a little bit more. Using the Chanel Stylo U88, and I put it to the upper waterline, but I do end up putting it to the lower waterline because by the time I was done doing my makeup, the Urban Decay Voodoo is pretty much worn off. For lip liner, I'm using MAC Chicory, and just outlining my lips with this, and then I'm gonna go in with the NARS lipstick in TOLEDE, I think, or TOLEDE. I don't know how you pronounce it. Super creamy, very beautiful. Looking at the makeup overall, I wish I would have gone for something that was a little bit more pink. I think that would have been more complimentary in my opinion, but this still worked out really well. It's a pigmented lipstick, very creamy, and it lasts on my lips for a long time. The gloss that I'm using, actually, I don't know if I got a clip of that, but it was the Fenty gloss. And then here I'm just going in with a little bit of Studio, the sculpting powders from MAC to clean up the outer edge. And I did add a cream shadow from the Loreal palette under the arch of the brow because the Masquerade Mini doesn't really have a matte cream shadow basically, and then the two highlighters from the Becca X Chrissy Teagan palette I've mentioned before. I really like this palette. I think it's really beautiful. The highlights, I can go soft with it or a little bit heavier. I'm then dragging out Chi a little bit more. This is where I had mentioned that I had added it further out on the eyes because that purple shadow just wasn't working out very well. I did end up adding a little bit more of the pink shadow just to intensify it a little bit more, and a little bit more of Zobo as well to the lower lash just to deepen it up because I felt like it wasn't coming off quite as vibrant on camera. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and more than anything, I hope that you guys found it super helpful. If there's any other look that you guys would like me to do with this palette, let me know. Like I said, I used all of these shadows here at the top, but if you guys want me to maybe stick to some of the neutral, that would be fun too. I'm a neutrals girl all the way. I was just in the mood for some color, so I thought I would take advantage. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.